Hello and welcome to a step-by-step interface building guide that will help you build and understand the Runescape UI in addition to helping you find important settings. Whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you like my RuneScape content, be sure to subscribe. Let's start by building the interface itself. The interface in this video is made for 1920 by 1080p monitors as they are by far the most common. If you have a larger or smaller interface, you can scale it in your graphics settings or simply stretch the tabs used in this example a little larger or smaller depending on which monitor resolution you have. For this video, I personally scaled my interface up to 135% to simulate a 1080p screen as my main monitor is 1440p. Let's get started. Start by saving your current interface as a backup by pressing Escape, clicking on Edit Layout mode, clicking the Save Layout drop-down, and then save as any custom interface you'd like. Next, unlock your interface by pressing the L key on your keyboard, or if you've rebound that key, go into your general interface settings, go to Appearance, and uncheck the box Locked Customization. Our base interface will be the retro interface, so press Escape, click the drop-down Load Layout, and choose Retro. Next, we're going to activate multiple action bars as depending on where you are in the game, you'll need anywhere between 1 to 4 additional action bars. You can activate additional action bars by pressing Escape, going to Gameplay Settings, Combat and Action Bar, and then selecting 4 additional display action bars. You want to place these action bars either below or above your main action bar. Personally, I prefer having them above mine. If you prefer to have your action bars as 7x2 instead of 14x1, you can do so as well. Again, personal preference. Next, align these action bars with your chat box. This will be the height of your interface at the bottom of your screen. For players wondering why this isn't in the middle, this is just how I've laid out the interface in this video, but I will mention that you can swap around 2 interfaces to place the action bars in the middle in just a second. Next, make sure your inventory is in the bottom right area of your screen. You can adjust the inventory because your interface is unlocked, and by dragging it around, it will change the amount of rows it has. If you'd like to have a locked amount of columns in your inventory, you can do so in your gameplay settings, under interfaces, inventory, and then fixing the amount of columns. Although I personally prefer the dynamic inventory. Next, if your minimap isn't already in the top corner, be sure to place it there and attach it to the Levels tab so the entire right side of your screen from top to bottom is minimap, levels, inventory. Then proceed by placing your armor tab next to your action bars, resizing your ribbon to 2 columns, so 4x2, and moving it next to the armor tab, and then placing your combat abilities next to your inventory to finish the layout. This has the benefit of you keeping a certain style open so that you can manually click rare abilities or defensives you may not use very often and don't like having on your action bars. Now, if you're not a fan of the left-sided action bars, you can place them in the middle by using your character as an orientation point and then moving the armor interface to the left and resizing your ribbon. You can also place the armor interface somewhere entirely else depending on your personal preference, but the general setup should be something similar to this. There's a reason the RuneScape UI is completely customizable, so if you want to change something in this video, you can do so. This video is more of a general guideline. Next, we're going to start opening up all the sub-interfaces from the ribbon and moving them into groups. I would move groups, friends, chat, clans, and so on into the inventory tab or section. Move prayers, metrics, and the familiar interface to the levels tab and section. The benefit of having these there is that you can easily see your stats and your inventory, or if you have a familiar summon, you can click this button and you'll be able to view its inventory easily so you can grab items and see what you have left right above your regular inventory without having to look around. Next, move your other abilities subsections to the abilities next to your inventory. And finally, move the other stuff that you don't use often like quests, achievement, tasks, and music to the top left of your screen. Now that we've completed all the visual stuff, we can go ahead and save this layout in case we lose it by pressing Escape, going to Edit Layout mode, and saving the layout in the drop-down menu. Now, you might have noticed that the interface is a little bit chunky, so we're going to go ahead and fix that. Go into your gameplay settings and under Appearance, turn on Slim Headers, and if you'd like, high title bars when locked as well. This will make your interface go from this to this or this when locked. There's also a slider in the exact same settings tab that allows you to adjust the transparency of your UI. Next, we're going to adjust some of the UI you can't always see by going to Edit Layout Mode, loading our layout, and then going to Advanced Options. In this interface, you can adjust pretty much any single interface, but I want to keep it simple, and I wouldn't suggest adjusting the main interfaces. As some suggestions, I recommend putting the boss kill time and instant timer somewhere in the left corner of your screen, moving the buff and debuff bars to near your chat box, placing the clock either at the top or bottom of your screen, move the extra action button used for some bosses above your action bars, move the area loot interface to either near your inventory or the left side of your screen. I personally prefer the left side. Move a lot of the useless interfaces like player inspect and day planner, stuff you don't use often, just to the left or top left part of your screen, just like the quests and achievements and tasks I mentioned earlier in this video. I suggest putting your Slayer counter somewhere near your game clock, although you won't exactly see where it lands because the actual interface is a little bit smaller if you minimize it, that is, and you have to activate this in your settings. I also suggest putting the dungeoneering map near your actual mini-map. Now, there are more options, but I don't want to make it too crazy. Be sure to press save and exit when you're done. Next, be sure to save your interface and layouts once more, just in case. You can then double check if you did it right by loading the default retro interface and then going back to your custom interface. If everything is still there, your buff bar is in the same spot, you did it correctly. Now, there are some other things you can customize, like the ribbon itself and the icons it shows, although I don't suggest touching this at all, just leaving it as the default one. You can also adjust your game view inside the advanced options if you don't like looking through your interface, if that's what you prefer. Now, if you're wondering what you should place on the action bar slots you now have, as you have 4 additional clean action bars, you can place stuff like defensive abilities, pocket slot items, teleports which you can drag and drop, including the PVM up teleport, lodestone teleports, familiar options and actions, and the eat food ability, which everyone should be using because it prioritizes a bit of food in your inventory from top to bottom, which means you'll no longer need to keep on different bits of food, unless of course stick eating. Now that you have your interface, it's time to rapid fire through the game settings to adjust them to give you the best experience possible. These will simply be suggestions. You don't have to follow what I'm saying, but it might help. In game interaction, I suggest turning off walk markers and turning on mouse over text and potion tooltips. I also suggest hiding augmented item cogs because it just makes weapons look ugly. If you're tired of getting hints in the information windows section, you can actually turn off guidance system hints. This is also one of the 2 places you can activate your Slayer counter, which I mentioned earlier. In the inventory section, you can auto teleport and destroy everything, and I suggest you tick off all those boxes. In the buff bar, you can resize and adjust how your buff bar looks, although I wouldn't personally touch this. In game clock, you can adjust your clock or turn it off completely and enable a 5-minute D&D location and favorite clock alarm, which I suggest turning on in case you have favorited D&Ds. In combat and action bar, under combat mode, you can adjust how revolution works, and I highly suggest taking off auto select magic spell and changing the familiar combat option to attack same target. This will make your familiar always attack the target you're currently attacking. In action bar binding, you can bind a specific weapon style to a main action bar with abilities so that they automatically switch when you switch your weapons. You can avoid misclicks by changing your settings in the choose options menu. You can also change the color of your hit splats under hit splats. In camera mode, I highly suggest turning off the camera shake option and changing from modern or whatever it's set to freedom classic for the best playing experience. This camera mode also allows you to zoom out way more, allowing you to see more of areas and bossing arenas. In skills and experience, there's a bunch of options I don't want to all go through, but one I recommend turning off is the decant flask warning, allowing you to easily decant your flasks or potions, adjusting your Reaper assignment settings under Slayer, and perhaps turning on virtual leveling if you want to see your levels go past level 99. In item drops, turn on area loot, which can be keybound in your settings, maybe play for loot beams, see if you want to receive or not receive clue scrolls from drops, and if you're an Iron Man, you might want to change the item stack settings to show the high out value instead of the grand exchange value. If you ever wanted to customize your chat box, including chat colors, you can do so under chat and social. And in additional options, if you'd like, you can change your interface to legacy style. This includes being able to turn the map icons on your mini-map to the legacy icons before 2014. If you're an old school player, you're probably going to like this. If your GPU is being used too much by RuneScape, turn off MSAA. In the graphics settings, you can also turn on and off loading screens. In controls, I suggest key binding, area loot, and the special attack action. If you press escape, go to hop worlds and click on settings, you can remove the ward hop confirmation when hopping worlds. This is amazing quality of life. You can teleport to pretty much any boss in the game given that you have the requirements by making a group in the community grouping system, select a boss view select, update your group, ready, and then finally complete group and then teleport. You're welcome. With that being said, we've covered the most important things. Now there is more to the Runescape interface, and I suggest you take some time to go through every option you can see. By doing this, you'll familiarize yourself with every little hidden feature, which will make it easier for you to navigate by yourself in the future. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it interesting. If you did, leave a like down below and maybe even consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.